Hello, Mikhail Tal and his openings. Mikhail Tal wasn't exactly a player who liked very much or used to work very hard on openings. He was a player of wonderful combinations and intuitive sacrifices. Nevertheless, our subject is his openings, and I will try to make it in 3 parts. This is the first part where I will give an general overview on his preferences in the openings. Tal liked open positions, and it's no wonder that with the white pieces he usually started the game with e4. This was his main move, and he would usually go for main lines in most openings, but he also played d4 or c4 or knight f3. She played with moves equally often, apart from e4, which I said was his main weapon. With the black pieces against e4, his main opening was Sicilian defense, where he would play different variations. He liked most to play neither variation with the black pieces, a6, but he also played, for instance, a classical variation, knight c6 here. What he would do, she also played e6, and then go for Taimano variation, take, and knight c6. Apart from Sicilian defense, against e4, he also played e5, and plays the Erwi Lopez. Or she played also the French, was a Caro-Kann. Against d4, his main opening was a Nimzo Indian, combined usually with some other openings after knight c3, bishop b4, but if white plays knight f3, he would usually go for Queen's Gambit d5, knight c3, bishop e7, so the Tartakova main line in the Queen's Gambit, but he also liked to play, for instance, after in this move order c5 here, they improved Tarash defense, which also leads to open play. Late Tal liked to play here, for instance, bishop b4, and after bishop g5, h6. But against d4, he also played sharp openings like Benoni for King's Indian, where she achieved some very nice victories. Comparing to other world champions, Tal didn't have so many analyses in the openings. His main tendency in the openings was to fight for the initiative. So let's see some concrete examples. For instance, with white against the knight of variation, he would gladly go for the poisonous pawn variation. Knight c3, a6, bishop g5, e6, f4, queen b6, queen d2, queen takes b2, rook b1, queen a6. If you look at the position, this is exactly a type of position which Tal liked to play, with a lot of possibilities for white for the sacrifice pawn. She actually, although he played knight of variation with the black pieces, he didn't like to play with variation with the black pieces, in opposite to, for instance, Orbis Fischer, who liked with the black pieces to take the pawn as them two different. Tal preferred to sacrifice a pawn for the initiative, and he won many games in this variation. The very first game I would like to show against Tolush, Tolush, 1956, Tal wasn't even 20 years old at this moment when the game was played, so he was 19 years old. He played here e5. Later he never played this move again. He preferred some other moves, and the theory proved indeed that e5 is not the best way for white to fight for the initiative. But we'll see that, like many combinations in Tal's career, he would not necessarily always go for the pure and correct variations. His main goal was to create chaos on the board where his opponents would not stand the pressure and would make mistakes, even if in the analysis later in many positions was proved that his opponents could defend, but over the board this is of course a different story. So e5, take, knight d7, knight e4, Now Tolush here took on a2, which is not very exact. The theory proof later that this variation is good for black. After h6 first, bishop h4, and now take on a2, because later the queen will come to a4, and the bishop on h4 is hanging in many variations. But in as a game, Tolush took immediately on a2, b3 was played, queen a1, check, king f2, queen a4, though this position, and it's very sharp, of course, and it was proved later that the strongest move here is a sacrifice on e6, but Tal played another sacrifice, bishop d5, completely unexpected for his opponent. She felt that white should sacrifice something, and she won for this position. Take on d5, take on d5, where he won the game in brilliant style. Later, with the help of computer, it was proved that black could defend in this position, but again, this has no relevance, because over the board, his opponents had to solve problems with limited time, and this was, of course, very difficult. Tal also had ability, even in quiet openings, to find some hidden possibilities for sharp ideas to open positions. And this is our next example against Aronian, a game which was awarded the beauty prize for both players. We'll see the game started with d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, c5. So black plays a Tarish defense, and it's quite interesting here. Instead of the main c takes d5, Tal plays e3, and he later explained his choice that she didn't want to take on d5 because she wanted to avoid the so-called Shah-Hennig gambit, where black sacrifices a pawn but gets the initiative. So you can see here, his approach to the opening, he didn't want to hand the initiative to his opponent. He would rather go for slightly more passive positions, with possibility to fight for initiative later on than to give the initiative right from the beginning to his opponent. But after e3, knight f6, we'll see that he very quickly got a sharp position, knight c6. Actually, this is, according to the theory, quite a quiet variation. a3 was played, bishop d6, take on c5, take b4, bishop d6, bishop d2, castle short, and usually in this position white takes here on d5, and after he takes d5, white plays here against isolated pawn with knight d5, then knight castle d4, bishop e2, castle short. And this is a normal way of playing such a position, but not for Tal. Tal liked sharp positions, and he played here also in this game. Queen c2, so sharp. Tal was 20 years old, and we can see this tendency already when she was very young to play as sharp as possible. After queen c2, the game continued. Knight e5, and here Tal castle long. So it's clear that the game will become very sharp. His idea is hidden to use this bishop for attack and then to advance the g-pawn. Of course, after knight takes f3, g takes f3, white has good attacking possibilities. In the game, black played queen e7, knight b5, forces black to give up the bishop or to take on f8 instead of queen e7. Here it should be said that black probably achieves a good play to place. If he continues a5, queen e7, knight b5, knight ed7 was played as a game. Now quite interesting. Take on d6, and queen c3. White pins the knight from f6, and he wants to play g4, g5. Black played ok8, white played g4, and it was a very big chaos on the board. Later on, Tal sacrificed the queen in this game. His opponent defended well, and in the end it was a draw, which Max Worthy, for instance, said that it was the nicest draw in chess history. So you can see again at the position now, if you look at the diagram, it's complete chaos here, and where complete variations and intuitions is very important. The next example is also an example where, from the quiet opening, Tal succeeded to create an attack out of nothing. So e4, c6 against Smyslov. This candidate tournament in Yugoslavia, it was a tournament where Tal qualified for his World Championship match. So e4, c6, d3. And yes, Count Tal tried many variations, and we'll come to his subject later when I'll talk about his matches with Botvinnik. But here in this game he played d3, d5, knight d2, e5, knight gf3. Now the main move is considered bishop d6. Smyslov played knight d7, and immediately Tal used the possibility to play here d4 and to get some open position. With a knight on f3, gives white this possibility to waste the tempo to play d4 in this position. And the best for black here is to take on d4 and to play with isolated pawn. Although the position is equal, it's not everybody's taste, and it's no wonder that Smyslov took on e4 here. Knight takes e4. Take on d4. Queen takes e4, so the position we see is already open. Knight f6, bishop g5, bishop e7. Here is a characteristic moment for Tal's style. He could play simply here knight d6 and get a clear, but endgame after queen e7, we see that white has a bishop pair and endgame, and the game is over only for two results, where either white wins or black succeeds to escape. Objectively, white is clearly better here, but Tal preferred to keep queens on board, and he played here castle long. So she plays for 3 results. She likes to play with queens. Castle short, and she played here knight d6. But now black, of course, is not obliged to take. Black played here queen a5, bishop c4, d5. You already see that the position becomes sharp and sharper with every move. In this moment, Tal played bishop d2. Again, he has the idea to transfer the bishop on the long diagonal and to start an attack. After bishop d2, black played queen a6. If queen c7 here, then Tal wanted to take on f7 and then bring his oak into play with oak e1. A very sharp and complicated position. Smyslov played queen a6. Now, knight f5. We see that the pieces are approaching black's king. The position is very unclear here, but Smyslov played very precisely for a while, but as usually against Tal, even players of such caliber couldn't stand the pressure. Queen or bishop d8 after bishop c5, white also would have played queen h4. This is his idea. B takes c4, and now queen g5. Knight e8 now is not possible because d8 is hanging the bishop on d8. g6 is one possibility, is very complicated variations. Smyslov played here knight h5, which is a good move. Check and take on h5. Queen takes a2, and the bishop c3. So this is a very complicated position with many possibilities for black. Here it was proved that the best way is bishop f6 or bishop c7 with idea bishop f4 check. Again, over the board is a different story, and black played here knight f6, which allowed a nice move. Queen takes f7, and white is already winning after queen takes f7. Tal won this game, so we can see this tendency to create chaos on the board and to put problems as soon as possible to his opponents. And another example from the same tournament against Fischer I would like to show you. This was in the very last, in the penultimate round of the tournament. Was very important game for the fight, for the first place. Tal is black, he goes for a very principled line in Sicilian, a6, bishop c4. So this was the line which Fischer liked to play very much, and it was expected that he would play this, of course, e6, bishop b3, d5, and now Fischer makes a move f4, which is connected with a pawn sacrifice, and Tal felt obliged to play principled in this position. He took the pawn, he played b4 and took the pawn. Later it was proved that after bishop b7, black doesn't have any opening problems. But Tal was very principled and played b4, knight a4, knight takes e4. This is of course very risky, but this was characteristical for Tal. He would not avoid risky variations. And if he felt that in this position this is the best way, then he would do this. Knight e4, just still short, white has a strong initiative for the pawn. The position is such a position where it's not possible to calculate everything. It's based on intuition, and objectively here white has a very good initiative compensation after g6, f5, very strong move, take on f5. Knight takes f5. White has a strong initiative here. The problem was that when this game was played, Fischer was only 16 years old. Tal was also very young, but Fischer was not yet ready to compete with Tal. And in this tournament, in the candidates tournament from 59, Tal won all his 4 games against Fischer. So he was a very unpleasant opponent for Fischer, but later things changed and Tal didn't win any games against Fischer anymore. So, knight f5, let's make some few more moves. J8, a very characteristic move also for Tal. He is trying to create counterplay. This also counted a lot in this game later on. This counterplay on the g file. Also, objectively, this is not the best move. Bishop d5, a very strong move from Fischer. Fischer played very nicely this game until some moment where he went wrong and Tal defended. Bishop takes e4. Take on f5. Take on f5, and now OT7. So this interesting defensive plan. We can see that Tal combines these defensive ideas with placing their pieces on some squares where they have some potential. After take, bishop f4 was played, and now Tal simply took the piece queen c6, attacking on g2. This was complete surprise for Fischer, where she recognized later on queen f3, queen takes a4. Okay, we will not go into details because this is not our subject today, but we can see here that the position is again a complete chaos here, and although objectively white is better in this position, she has possibilities here to achieve advantage, to take back the piece and achieve advantage. Fischer at some moment went wrong. There was some psychological battle here between the players, but again, this is a different subject. And this game allowed Tal to qualify for the match against two in the tournament and to qualify for World Championship match against Botvinnik. The openings in this World Championship match against Botvinnik will be the subject of our second part. Thank you.
Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe.